Actually, Zayin on Beis from Amarava. I know 12 to 15 lines down, there's a dot. Amarava. Michayev Inish Levisumi before you. Rava said, we are obligated to get drunk on wine on Purim. Until one can't differentiate between Ar Haman to Baruch Mordechai. Curses Haman to blesses Mordechai. Rabbi and Rabbi Zera Avdu Sudas Purim B'Hadi Hadadi. They made a Purim Suda together. They shared the Purim Suda. Ivsum. And like all the Eden, they got drunk. Come Rabba gets up, Shchatei Rabbi Zera. And he shechted Rabbi Zera. Lemachar Bayirachamei. The next day he gets up in the morning and he davens and asks for Rachamim v'Achye. And he brings Rabbi Zera back to life. So we spoke out all the different Mepharshim, some that say that he gave him like he hit him and caused him to be in pain, and then he davened that he should get better. Or there's the Mashah that says he pressured him to drink, and because he pressured him to drink, it was as if he caused him harm. So there's a bunch of different shatim, what exactly means that he slaughtered Rabbi Zera. So the next year, Rabbi tells Rabbi Zera, Nesimar, let's go, and let's make a Sudas Purim, let's go get together for the Purim Suda again, like we do, Amalei, so Rabbi Zera answered, Rabbi, not every time could we rely on a nace to happen. Amar Rava. Rava said, Sudas Purim she'achla b'layla, a Suda Purim that you eat the night before Purim, lo yotze yidei chavasei. You can't be yotze yidei chavasei of Purim Suda by night. My timer. Why? What's the reasoning? Because it says you may mishta v'simcha ksiv. It says the day of Purim, so it's a day thing, not a night thing. Rav Ashi have a Yasef kamed Rav Kahana. Rav Ashi was sitting in front of Rav Kahana. He was giving she'enoga, but also Rabbanim. It became late in the day on Purim, and the Rabbanim didn't come. Amar lei, my time also Rabbanim. So he says, why aren't the Rabbanim coming to the Beis Medrash? Dil matri de v'sudas Purim, because they're busy with the Sudas Purim. Amar lei. So he says to him, they couldn't eat the Sudas Purim the night before. Like, why do they have to schlep today? Amar lei, lo yishmi alei lemar. Didn't master here what Rava said that Sudas Purim she'achla b'layla lo yotze yidei chavasei. Didn't master here what Rava said that you're not yotze by having the Purim Suda by night. Amalei. So he said to him, Amar Rava, hachi. Did Rava actually say this? Amalein. He said yes. Tana mina Abba Zimnan. So he taught it to him 40 times. V'dami leikeman demonach b'kisei. And it was as if he had it put in his pocket. Okay, now we're on Zayin Beis, and we're starting from the Mishnah. So it's just, I think, important to note that we're going to go through a bunch of Mishnayos now of Ein Bain. So the reason is because none of these halachas that we're going to go through now have anything to do with what we were learning till now. So once they learned Ein Bains, so then they just continued from the last Mishnah. We learned Ein Bain. Right, so Ein Bain Adar Rishon Adar Sheni. So now we're going through different Ein Bains, and some of them are going to have nothing to do with Shabbos or Yontif or Purim. Happens to be the first couple of them have to do with Shabbos and Yontif. Ein Bain Yontif l'Shabbos ela oichel nefesh b'lvad. So the Mishnah says there's no difference halachically between Shabbos and Yontif, except for Eichel Nefesh. So what does this mean? Because there's difference in Einshin, like the punishment is different for doing Malacha on Shabbos, there's different punishment for doing on Yontif. So it means specifically the types of Malacha that you're allowed to do on Yontif is only stuff that's connected to food. So only the pasuk says everything is asur on Yontif, only that something that's has to do with eating. That itself you could do for a thing. We have to remember this pasuk because we're going to pull apart a little bit. So the only difference between what's mutter to do on Yontif and not Shabbos is Eichel Nefesh for eating purposes. Zok the Gemara. But machshirin Eichel Nefesh, which is basically like you would say like the machine or anything that has to do with food indirectly, and Rashi's example is sharpening a knife. So sharpening a knife is something that you wouldn't be allowed to. It's one of the malachas. You're not allowed to sharpen a knife on Shabbos, and also you're not allowed to sharpen a knife on Yontif, right? And a knife is important because they oichel nefesh. They would also shecht animals. So the shecht an animal is very important to have a knife that's sharp. So if you don't have a knife that's sharp, so that's machshiri oichel nefesh. There's other things also like straightening out, fixing a pot or fixing something that's not mamish food. That would be machshiri oichel nefesh. Ha'le'enyan machshiri oichel nefesh zev zeh shavin. So the Gemara says that but for machshiri oichel nefesh, fixing a keli that we use for oichel nefesh, it will be the same Shabbos as Yontif. Not necessarily the same einish, but it would be the same Isser. So the Gemara says, Masnisen the loik Rebbe Yehuda. This Mishnah, our Mishnah, is not like Rebbe Yehuda. The Tanya, we have a brisa. Ein bein Yom Tov l'Shabbos el oichel nefesh. There's no difference between Yom Tov and Shabbos for what's aser. El oichel nefesh. The difference is oichel nefesh. Rebbe Yehuda, that's a Tanakama. Rebbe Yehuda is mater af machshirei oichel nefesh.
Instruments to make food.
Instruments to make food. Oh, good word. Instruments. My time is the Tanakama. What's the Tanakama's reasoning of saying that machshirei is not and only oichel nefesh? The oichel nefesh does not include instruments. Amakra hu. So the pasuk says hu levada yeyaselechem. This hu only that you could do. Only this. Only that. Hu v'loy machshira. So hu levada hu. This is for who? You. Who? Me. Right. Yeah. So who is just for the food. Just the food. The food has to be done for Shabbos. We have to eat.
But not the instrument.
V'loy machshira, but not the instruments. Hu v'loy machshira. Rabbi Yehuda Amar lachem. Right, but the pasuk also says hu levada yeyaselechem. This itself you could do for yourselves, for you. Lachem. Lachem lechol tzorchehem. So Rabbi Yehuda is using lachem. How's he using lachem? Remember, because lachem, hu levada yeyas, would be enough. So the word lachem seems to be an extra word. So we have to have a limit for this extra word. So what would Rabbi Yehuda use it for? Lachem lechol tzorchehem. For you, for whatever you need. You need the food, you need the meat. So you have to shech the knife, so you need the thing. V'idachnami, and the other, the Tanakama, haksiv lachem, he also has the word lachem extra. So what does he do with it? So Zok the Gemara, lachem v'loi la'ovdei kachavim. For you, for Yidden, but not for Goyim. Ovdei kachavim is usually the word that the Gemara uses to talk about people that are not us. They just had to, they couldn't say Goyim because sometimes it would upset the Goyim to be called, why are we different? Why are you think? There was a lot of times in the history that the Yidden had to do stuff like this. So the Gemara's basic thing is Akom or Ovdei kachavim, because it was better for the Yidden that they shouldn't, like this, when they would talk about a guy would learn Gemara and, he would say, hey, why are you saying bad stuff about us? They're like, no, this is not you. There's the Ovdei kachavim, the people that bow down to the stars. You guys don't bow down to the stars. It's not talking about you. Also to you and not for dogs. So it's dafka for people, not for dogs. Right? So he has two different limudim, Rabbi Yehuda, that he would use with lachem. V'idachnami, and the Tanakama also, haksiv hu, he also has the word hu, that would be extra hu and lachem. Ksiv hu, uksiv lachem. Kan b'machshirin she'efshar la'asoysim erev Yom Tov, kan b'machshirin she'efshar la'asoysim erev Yom Tov. Right? So one, he's basically machalak between an instrumentation thing that you could have done before Yom Tov or that you could not have done before Yom Tov.
Or
so
something that broke in the middle of Yom Tov and
exactly.
you have to repair.
So that would be the difference. The difference would be a knife. So the knife,
if it was good before Yom Tov,
right, then it would be a problem. Right. So even Rabbi Yehuda is saying that if it was something that could not have been done before Yom Tov, and it happened on Yom Tov and you still have to shech, That's where he says you could sharpen that knife.
Because he uses it out from Lachem.
Lachem.